This episode of the Nerf Herder Council is brought to you by Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download.
I'm Kevin Thompson. I'm Chubray from Return of the Jedi. You're listening to the Nerf Herder Council.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking Nerf herder.
You can't use that word. Only we can use that word.
You're tuned in to the Nerf Herder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate. Featuring your hosts, JT.
Stormtrooper armor deflects everything except Orback hooves. They're like a horse version of Thomas the Tank Engine.
AJ.
Yeah, Rebels is a lot like our show, where we think we have a good idea and then it just fails in execution.
Steve.
The vacuum of space does crazy things to your beehole out there, man.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, we finally give our review of the first season of The Mandalorian.
This is the Nerf Herder Council.
All right. 1, 2, 3, clap. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. With me are AJ and Steve, and I can confidently say that we are the only Star Wars podcast you will ever listen to that can't count to 4 and do a clap simultaneously. So
That's cool, because that last one we did, I didn't even bother clapping. So,
dude, what AJ? What did you just say? What were you ripping on me for?
That was like the most spirited intro you've given in months, and it's all because we screwed up clapping?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, you're easy to please.
How do you know I wasn't just trying to test my mic level? So I was speaking hotly.
Yeah, we can screw up a bunch. We're really good at that. If that's all it takes, man, we'll have you in the best mood ever.
Nice. So this is going to be a pretty fun episode. We wanted to talk about The Mandalorian. We had an episode previously where we got through the first 3 episodes, but we haven't gone through the entire show since it finished airing. And because May 4th is coming up and they're going to be releasing that behind the scenes show about it, we thought it'd be a good time to go through and talk about this. But it's also a special show because it's coming out this Sunday. And hey, Steve, I don't know if you know this, but it's one of our birthdays on Sunday.
Is it now?
Yeah, and it's not my birthday. Is it your birthday on Sunday?
No, mine is in January.
Oh, well, there you go. So it is AJ's birthday on Sunday when this show will be released. So happy birthday, AJ. It's you picked a good day to be born. If only you were one day later.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? I just had to get ahead of things.
Right.
I wanted to be here for the day.
That's a perfect way to explain it. So, but yeah, so happy birthday, man. I hope it's a good weekend. It sucks that you unfortunately have one of those birthdays that's falling, during this coronavirus lockdown thing. So we can't do anything. We were supposed to be going and playing free video games and drinking beer and eating Angelo's Pizza all day on Saturday at 16-bit in Lakewood. But before I could even finalize that plan and invite everybody, the lockdown thing happened in mid-March. So I owe you a birthday party.
Well, I can still do all that stuff on my own. I mean, I've got free video games, and I can get Angelo's Pizza, and I've got a liquor store across the street. So, yay!
Well, there you go. Well, it just wouldn't be the same without like 20 of us.
Sometime this summer, everybody's going to have a St. Pat's de Mayo birthday party thing anyways. So,
Dude, right?
I know.
Yeah, we're going to plan like 7 different drinking holidays within the course of 2 or 3 days over the summer.
Yeah, a friend of mine wanted to know if we should. They're running a sale for whitewater rafting in West Virginia for summer packages, and she's like, "Should we go July 4th weekend?" I'm like, "Hell no! That's the first holiday after all this stuff lets up a little bit. You think people aren't going to have like 13 or 14 different social options?"
Yeah, it's going to be insane. I know, like with my band schedule, we have 2 shows left in June that have not been canceled that we're pretty sure are going to get canceled. And other than that, the next show is August 1st, and it's at St. Gerard's Church. It's the St. Gerard's Festival. It's usually the first weekend in June, and that show is already just completely off the chain every year. And now that it's going to be like the first show back, like one of the first concerts that people are going to be able to go to, if that happens, then I don't even want to think about how much alcohol they're going to.
That's going to be like Mardi Gras.
Oh my God. Yeah. I can't wait. It's like, I mean, I've been playing since I was 18 years old. So it's been 26 years and I know I love it, but you don't really realize it until it's taken away from you. You know, you don't have a choice. You can't do it. You're like, oh my God, this sucks. Like I really miss being on stage. So, but anyway, the show is actually, special as well because this is not the only episode that we will be putting out. AJ, you and our cousin Chris are getting together on Saturday to record something as a special bonus episode. Why don't you tell everybody what that is, since I won't be a part of it?
Well, Steve is going to be on there too, so let's not, cut him out.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
But yeah, since
I'm going to join in on digital spirited end here.
Nice.
Yeah, so since it's my damn birthday, I'm making the call that we're finally going to do another commentary track, but I wouldn't do one of the regular movies because we've got to have you for that, JT. So we're going to do the one movie that you refuse to do, which is, well, I'm sorry, one of 3 movies that you refuse to do, which is the Ewok movie Caravan of Courage from 1984. I've got it on DVD. I don't know anywhere where it's streaming online, so that's going to be interesting. But through the wonders of Zoom meetings, I'm going to be casting the movie from my television.
Wow.
With like a webcam pointed at it. So Steve can watch along, and we're going to do that commentary track on Saturday.
Wow.
So should be interesting. It's going to be pretty disastrous. Did you see the trailer on YouTube for it?
Yeah, I've seen the movie itself, and honestly, the reason that I'm not participating is not I'm not trying to be like a curmudgeon, but I've seen them, and I absolutely hate them, and I don't want to get on a commentary track and just start destroying something for 2 hours. It'd be so negative, and I just don't want to do that. Like,
I'm just putting it out there now, John. I got my Skype set up that when it rings, it doesn't play the audio through. So if you are bored at any point on Saturday and you see that we're logged in, just go ahead and jump in on that thing.
I'll just call in and go, this movie sucks. I can't believe you're doing this.
Absolutely. Poke your head in for 10, 15 minutes, piss on it a little bit, and then find your way back out, man. It doesn't even matter, dude.
I'm doing my own Star Wars. On Saturday, I'm doing the 3D sequel trilogy marathon. So I finally last week got my my copy of Rise of Skywalker on 3D Blu-ray. So I now have, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker all on home 3D, and I will be binging it on Saturday so that I can finally watch the sequel trilogy in its entirety to see how it all plays out once you watch it as one cohesive chunk.
Now, you had brought up being a curmudgeon and me being nitpicky a little bit. I saw the picture that you posted online about that, and immediately I just went, wow, episode 7 has the best cover art to any of those stupid movies.
You know what's funny about that? It's different. That's
why I like it more than the other 2. The other ones were just normal, and I'm like, wow, episode 7 looked pretty cool, actually.
Well, when I say different, though, that's a different box. Like, that's a special set.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so it's like a 3D like picture on the cover. So that's actually the box. Like if you pull it out, it actually looks more like the others.
Nah. But either way, as far as the picture you posted, that one wins. So
Episode 7 is your favorite of the 3, just based on cover box art.
Yeah, on 3D cover art. Yes.
So AJ, why did you pick Caravan of Courage and not The Battle of Endor, like the first one.
Battle for Endor is the second one.
I was like,
Wait, I thought Battle for Endor. Wait a minute. I thought Battle for Endor was the first
year's
one.
birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And yes,
Well, I got him in the wrong
call
order.
2021's shot right now. We're doing it again next year for the second movie.
Oh, jeez. Wow. So
We're gonna get all the way through until we do the animated Clone Wars movie.
I was gonna ask if anyone had interest in doing the Gendy series, because that's about an hour and 20 all totaled.
that might be interesting. I don't think I've seen those.
Yeah, I've never watched that.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Like our cousin, his wedding anniversary is May 4th, and you can never get him to do anything that weekend ever. Oh, I got to do my anniversary. Got to do my anniversary. So now it's his anniversary. And what does he finally come out of the woodwork for? Watching this awful movie.
It's because he's been quarantined. He's trying to run out of the house.
I was gonna say, I think he's seen his wife plenty lately.
Yeah, right. They're secretly fighting a bunch. That's why he's getting the hell out. He's like, anything is better than sitting there doing that some more.
When AJ told me he didn't want to bother doing the Skype thing and he was just going to go over AJ's house, I'm like, oh yeah, I probably should have used that excuse too, honestly.
Right. I've just been playing a ton of video games. It's amazing. I beat the first Batman game because I bought the package on the PlayStation Network, and I beat it the other day, and I was like, "This." Am I just getting better at video games because I've been playing so much since this quarantine thing started? Because I thought this would be longer.
Dude, maybe. I have the remaster of Oddworld, the first one.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember that being a massive pain in the ass when it came out on PS1. And I'm like storming through that thing. It's crazy how like some of these older games, they're just like, they're so easy when you revisit them later.
That's like when I had a Nintendo. I finally got a reworking Nintendo like a few years back, and one of the first games I bought was Mario 2 because that was my favorite one, and I remember it took me forever to beat that game. I buy the thing, I sit down when I get home, I put it in, and literally first time through I beat it. I was like, what the hell is that?
But who did you beat it with, though?
Oh, always Luigi. I always play with Luigi.
Okay. So that's because if you do it with Peach, that's like cheat codes. So.
See, well, I kind of feel
floats,
like Luigi is,
man.
Yeah. Well, but Luigi jumps like a mile, so
Yeah.
you know that's so. Well, anyway, let's get to our topic.
Yeah, we should
here.
talk Star Wars.
Yeah, you know, an actual topic. So,
Well,
anyway, yeah, we wanted.
There is an actual segue for video games and Star Wars. As my phone goes off, of course, our father would call like while we're doing the show. Anyway, yeah, did you see that the last content update ever for Battlefront 2 is dropping on the 4th?
Yes, I did. And you know what's funny is a ton of people are complaining about that.
How do you complain
I'm like,
about
this game's
that?
I don't know. They're complaining about all the stuff they didn't get, and I'm like, but this game's been out for like 2.5 years. You keep getting more and more like constant updates and everything, and
free.
I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand why people are upset. But I guess that's good because the game started out with such rough legs, and then you know as they went, they fixed all the stuff people didn't like, and now it's hugely popular. So I guess that's good.
Yeah, the worrisome thing is that I've seen reports that EA has already said they're not doing a Battlefront 3.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I read. Sorry, I was taking it.
I don't get that. They're doing a new Battlefield, and we know they're basically the same game underneath the skin. So if they're doing a new one of the core game, why don't they do a Battlefront 3? And I wonder what we're getting instead.
Well, what are you going to do with it, though? I mean, you've done 2 Battlefronts. There's not really much more you can do. But hey, here's some new planets. They don't have new content coming out movie-wise for a couple years at least, so there's really nothing to do except for go add stuff that they haven't from the previous films. And how much can they mine that really?
It's video games. Steve, back me up on this. Does it really matter if they're out of good ideas? As long as the franchise is still popular and making money, they'll keep cranking them out.
Not really. At least not in the term of Star Wars. Because like John said, it would just be like Battlefield or Battlefront 2.1 or something like that. Yeah. If they have no new ideas, it's going to be the exact same game, just on a new system, basically. With the PS5 and the Series X or whatever the hell it is coming out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they're just waiting for the next consoles.
I think that's what they said too, though, is because the PS5 is supposed to come out like end of this year or something.
Hopefully,
that they're supposed to wait for that.
Yeah, if you wait 2 or 3 years for new Star Wars content and the new systems and everything, at least it's a nice fresh game 2 or 3 years from now instead of rolling out the same Call of Duty crap every year.
Yeah, and I mean with the next gen console, they haven't worked out all the bugs in that yet. So they're probably waiting until that system is has been up and running for a year or two, and they know what it can do. They know it's not going to screw anything up. It's not going to have bugs or anything. I don't know. Like maybe that's what it is. Who knows? They just want to have that console be whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm not very well versed in the terminology, but.
They probably want a couple more seasons of The Mandalorian under their belt so they can add that content in.
Maybe they'll just make a Mandalorian game.
They could, but by the time this next game would come out, there would be like 3, maybe even a 4th season in development of The Mandalorian. So maybe we should talk about the first one.
Why don't we do that? See, that's a good segue. You were right. That's an excellent segue. So, as I said at the beginning, we did talk about the first 3 episodes in a previous episode of the show, but then we never revisited it as the season played out. And now that it is come and gone, and we're getting a behind the scenes thing next week, kind of wanted to revisit the season as a whole. I personally, as I said with the first 3 episodes, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It was interesting because there was the episode that everyone, so many people I've seen have said that the 4th episode was their favorite, the one that introduced Cara Dune. And they were in that little village and staving off those raiders that had the evil ATST with the red eyes. Like that to me was my least favorite episode. I mean, I love, Baby Yoda drinking tea or the soup or whatever, and Cara Dune is awesome, but it was just like, okay, it just kind of seemed a little superfluous. But then again, the episodes in the middle all kind of seemed superfluous. I mean, I think AJ, it was you that made the point about the episode 2. This kind of seemed like, well, what's the point except for showing that the child, Baby Yoda, has force powers. It was kind of like that. Like, okay, what does this have to do with the greater narrative?
Mm-hmm. But I think something to get used to with all these streaming services and series now is like, I noticed this on the Star Trek shows on CBS All Access too, where you get these episodes where you're like, why did they've only got 10 episodes this season or 8 episodes this season. Why did they waste an hour doing this story? And then it always culminates like in the second or final episode where all those things that you didn't think mattered actually come back. So like the Cara Dune episode, you're like, why did they bother with that whole side note thing? But then Cara Dune comes back, so that's her introduction. Now it makes sense.
Yeah. Like episode 4 was like, the battle at the end with the ATST and everything they did with the villagers and stuff was cool. But other than that, and introducing Cara, it was literally what it was episode 4. It was a filler middle of the season episode. I don't even know why people would assume that would be the best episode of the season, honestly.
Personal tastes, I guess. Like I said, it was cool. I mean, I liked every single episode. Don't get me wrong. It was. Oh yeah. It's interesting because one of my complaints about Rebels was that I liked when they had an episode that was that stuck to the main narrative, and I didn't like the episodes that were just kind of there. They were just random things, and The Mandalorian was like a smaller example of that type of writing, and yet I liked all of these episodes, and I don't know why. Maybe I just like I probably just like the storylines better. I've blasted on the space whales on here enough, but when they have ideas like that I didn't really care for, maybe that's it. But I mean, as a whole, the thing that I thought was really cool is how some of the episodes like had the feel of one of the movies. Like, I mean, for as much as my least favorite episode was this episode 4 we're talking about. That one definitely had kind of a Return of the Jedi feel a little bit, because it was, they were technologically inferior, the villagers and whatnot, but they prevailed over the big evil machinery and everything. Mm-hmm. And then you had the episode. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was the episode after that with the bounty hunter, where you had the pit droids and you know, he was getting his ship fixed and stuff like that. And that felt very prequel-ish, like, you know, because it had like the goofy, like Three Stooges humor with the pit droids and everything, and kind of brought back some prequel feeling to it. So I thought that was really cool that they fit some of that stuff in.
See, it's weird because I thought the 4th episode with Cara Dune felt like a Clone Wars episode to me. Because I swear, at least once or twice, they told the story of like Jedi rolls into village and village like can't defend itself from, you know, in that case, the separatists. But
okay.
It was always like, okay, so you've got like 2 warriors that have to train all these unskilled people on how to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, we've seen this story told in Star Wars before, but like I said, it comes back later with you know, Cara Dune coming back into the fold that makes it matter more than just being like, well, we had an hour to fill and this was a fun little diversion.
Yeah. I see, for me, the Clone Wars thing was, you know, and Steve, I mean, you can speak to this now that you've actually gotten through the Clone Wars. I think when you go back and look at the Mandalorian, there's so much Clone Wars stuff in there. You can tell Filoni was working on this because,
absolutely.
You know, he's like, hey, let's throw in the Mandalorians like flying and kicking ass, like,
right,
you know, let's throw in, you know, let's throw in the Darksaber. You know, there were so many Clone Wars references to things. It was pretty crazy.
And honestly, the tie-in, you know, especially once we'll get to it here later on when we talk about Chapter 8, you know, if you don't know anything about the Clone Wars or all that, when you see the Darksaber, you're just kind of like, you know, but the fact that we know about that, you know, it makes it cooler. So it ties it in and it makes it better for us to actually watch with that tie-in. So
yeah, exactly. And to see something like that in live action, you know, that was one of the coolest aspects of the Clone Wars was, you know, the Mandalorian stuff and then, you know, the Darksaber and all that. And then to see it in live action is just, it's awesome.
Yeah,
the
you know,
thing,
especially when you know the lineage now of all the hands that it's passed through over the years and stuff. And you're like, oh, how the hell did this guy get it? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was like, well, now how are they going to explain this? So, I mean, the way they tied it all together was really cool. The one thing I did think was funny about the Darksaber was it looks like the Darksaber looked in the cartoon. So I was like,
right.
It must be really hard to make a black bladed weapon or something. So
yeah, it looks like it came straight off of the Clone Wars series.
it did like a cut and paste. It looks like something like my Photoshop skills were used.
Right.
And for anybody who doesn't know me, I have no Photoshop skills.
The Darksaber looked like season 1 of South Park. It's just
it's like a cutout piece of like construction paper.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, check out this black lightsaber I found. So, world's worst Cartman, but yeah, no, I mean the stuff that they're kind of bringing in from other canon is really cool, and you know, I think we touched on this in the episode where we discussed the first 3 episodes, but it's really cool how they have all this stuff in there for diehard fans like us, and yet the average casual fan that doesn't know any of that can still enjoy it just as much as we do.
Yep.
And those Easter eggs are not needed to understand what's happening on the screen or the storyline that's going on.
Right.
They struck a great balance
Filoni
with that.
and
Favreau.
Favreau and who is the other guy? Takiti, whatever.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah. Between the 3, like you were just saying, you know, there's Easter eggs in there, and the fact that you don't need them makes the show so much more watchable, but it gives people like us just that extra little like thing to like almost every episode, you know, like you definitely don't need it, but every tiny little extra thing that we can connect everything through the rest of the universe makes it so much better to watch for people like us, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's something as small as, you know, the boots at the end of, you know, the 5th episode, the bounty hunter episode. You know, the average fan's like, oh, who the heck is that? But Star Wars fans are like, oh my God, is that Boba Fett? Is that Cad Bane? Is that so and so? Like, you know, it means more to us, but you know, it can still be enjoyed by people that don't have a clue if it's some, you know, legacy character comes out that everyone loves.
That's the brilliance of the storytelling. Is I've got some friends who aren't Star Wars fans, but they picked up Disney Plus for other reasons, and they they started with the Mandalorian, and like they're loving that series without having any of that background for the Easter eggs. And then they hit me up. They're like, "So what is this thing that I saw?" I'm like, "Oh, okay. Look, you can go back and you can check out this story or this movie or whatever, and connect all these dots." And then they do that, and they're like, "Holy crap, my mind is blown," because they're getting it all in reverse, right? Like they're the Easter eggs are being found before the reason they're Easter eggs, and it's so fun to like swap stories and see how like the experience is different when you get the final piece when you don't know the puzzle.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree with that. I've had people asking me questions too, and going back and trying to revisit, older stuff just to find out. And it's funny because I think this show, and to your point, one of the negative things that we see on social media a lot is, for people that are not fans of the sequel trilogy, Disney ruined Star Wars or whatever. But, I've never bought into that. I disagree with it. But I think that, the Mandalorian and the way that it does tie all these different things together, I think it's proof that Disney's doing a great job with Star Wars, because they're tying in all these different things and doing it so seamlessly. Mm-hmm. And it just makes it so cool when you see, like, again, going back to the Darksaber. I mean, AJ, you and I were watching that episode, and when he gets out of the the TIE fighter at the end of the season and he's holding that thing, we both were like, "Oh my God, he's got the Darksaber! What the heck?" So,
right?
I mean, it just totally blew our minds. And
let's take the general premise. Let's take the general premise that we've got a bunch of Mandalorians hiding out underground on I forgot the planet that they're on. See, we should have rewatched this before doing the episode.
Yeah, right.
But it's not Mandalore anyway.
No.
And so like everybody's instantly like, well, what the hell happened to Mandalore? Why are all these people, these proud warriors, hiding out underground on some other planet?
Yeah.
And now here we're at the Clone Wars. We're wrapping that up, and we're going to see the Siege of Mandalore, which will probably explain exactly why that is.
Yeah. And and how about that? Speaking of, they come out and say, man, they answered the question of how, they answered the Boba Fett question. And again, the average fan wouldn't have known this, but when they purposely on screen say Mandalorian isn't a race, it's a creed, we were all like, oh my God, so that's why Boba Fett is considered Mandalorian. He doesn't have to be from Mandalore. But I do have to say that did raise the question in my mind. Okay, well then what do you call people from Mandalore? If they're not Mandalorians, like, are they like, it's like Ohio. If you're from Ohio, you're an Ohioan. Okay, Ohioan is a creed. Well, shit. So are you an Ohioan or an Ohioan? Like, what is it? So now there's another question. San Diego. That was a perfectly timed reference. But anyway, I mean, it's a minor thing, but I did think that when they came out with it. But yeah, I mean, that was awesome that they just knew Mandalorian is a creed. And it kind of made him more badass, I thought, because instead of just saying, okay, you're from this planet, and if you wear their particular armor, okay, you're one. No, it's you have to be a true badass and live by this code and everything, and you have to earn every bit of it. And so I thought that was awesome that they put that in there.
I don't think they've really answered that question, though. Because it's a creed now, but it wasn't always. Like I just said, like Mandalore isn't a thing anymore at the time of the Mandalorian, apparently. Like the Siege of Mandalore was this big pivotal moment in that planet's, in that culture's history. And the only official answer we've had on Boba Fett's origin, outside of obviously being a clone of Jango, Jango was referred to by the Prime Minister of Mandalore in the Clone Wars as he's no Mandalorian, and that's all he said, which could be he's a disgrace and we don't acknowledge him, or he's physically not from the planet of Mandalore.
See, but that's what's confusing. Like, does Mandalore...
That's the point, though. It keeps it vague.
Oh, I don't want it vague. I want a damn answer.
Quit being like every other Star Wars fan on the internet.
Well, look, it's confusing, okay? Like, because if you go visit the planet Mandalore and you meet a native, you're like, oh, you're a Mandalorian. No, that's a creed. Huh? but you're from Mandalore. You're a Mandalorian. Oh, yeah. Sorry. You're right. Yeah, I'm a Mandalorian. What about that guy over there with the armor? Oh, he's not from here, but he's a Mandalorian. Like, what the hell is going on?
Well, they were like they had a whole empire, so you could be a Mandalorian. It's like saying you're a Roman, but you're not from Rome.
Maybe they had states or something. Like you brought up Ohio, and we don't call ourselves Earthlings or anything like that on a regular basis. So,
Right.
trying to put an entire race of people on. Yeah, anybody who lives on that planet, they're all the same people.
Yeah.
Come on, that's sci-fi though.
It'd be like like we have the Army, Navy, Marines. Like, okay, but it's like they picked Mandalorian. So that, like I just said, you're going to visit the planet and go, oh, you're a Mandalorian? No. I just have the armor. Wait a minute. Is that guy a Mandalorian? And they just like turn to look at each other. Crap. We should have picked a better name for this. This is really confusing.
So you get there and they're just all woke. And they're like, how dare you assume what I am?
Yeah, right. Either that or they're all just dejected about it. Like, wait a minute. He's a Mandalorian, but you're not from here. But you're a Mandalorian because of and that guy is a Mandalorian, and they just hang their heads in shame and go, "This is the way." Like, almost like it wasn't our idea, pal. Like we didn't come up with this crap. Okay, we just live by it. So, anyways,
how about how the Mandalorian, like every single episode played off like a video game, and all this dude was doing was upgrading every single episode.
Yeah, dude, I kind of like that.
Like every episode, they were like, "Here's a piece of chest armor, and here's a shoulder pad, and here's a jetpack." It's like he did just enough crap to unlock the next part of his armor every episode.
Mandalorian's ship is damaged. He must find parts. Go find Kawil. They really could make it.
That's
an
what
awesome
the egg
video
was.
game.
The egg was a fetch quest.
It was.
See, they could
a side
just make a whole video
quest.
game of the show as it is. It's a side quest. It's the bonus mission.
Yeah, it was a side mission plus 2 armor.
That's what we missed. It's just one big video game. That's all it is.
It kind of was. I love the way they made the show.
Yeah. I mean, Favreau was talking about how some of the shots of the Razor Crest flying and landing and stuff, he did that in his garage. So,
Dude, isn't it nuts?
I can't even paint a guitar neck in my garage, and this guy's making like $10 million TV episodes in his. Like a little bit of a different level of production value in our houses, I suppose. It's stuff like that's going to be real interesting to see in that documentary next week. How they really did it and the little tricks that they used and whatnot.
That whole thing's going to be interesting. There's 8 episodes of The Mandalorian so far, and they're going to make 8 episodes of a documentary about The Mandalorian. We're going to have as much screen time for behind the scenes as we have actual story.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just going to do like every episode. Like, the first one is behind the scenes of episode 1 and the behind the scenes of episode 2. Like, I wonder if that's how they're going to play it. I mean, in any case, I'm all for it because me, I love the behind the scenes stuff. So, watching that is going to be awesome. But yeah, I mean, moving on, like, the chapter 6 was the one with all the different bounty hunters, and Bill Burr was in there, and the Twi'lek and all that kind of stuff.
I didn't really like that episode.
It was cool. I like how they have Bobby from Sons of Anarchy in it. That was pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, it was cool.
Being a fan of Bill Burr, the episode was kind of cool to me, but again, it was definitely a filler episode, though.
I like the droid with Zero whatever. I forget, but he was cool. And the whole escape thing was, it was interesting to me. I thought it was fun. It wasn't my favorite episode, but it was cool.
It's weird. It was the only time I usually don't get so far down in the nuts and bolts of how a show is made, but like from the opening scenes of that in the hangar when the whole thing was being set up, I'm like, this is like poorly lit. It was too dark and it was difficult to watch. Like,
Really? I didn't get
usually
that.
you've got like separation of the character from the background or something, so it's easy
Yeah.
to track people. And I was like, everybody's dark. Everybody's in the dark. Where's the light? I can't see anything.
Well, maybe it was meant to make him look all nefarious or something. Maybe that was a conscious decision. We'll find
Yeah, it
out
was
next
weird.
week.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
he went like full on like Batman mode. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. I don't know. I thought it was okay. I have episodes that I prefer more. I mean the first episode just is when you see it and you realize like it's a live action Star Wars program, and then you see an IG unit just whooping ass, and then the Baby Yoda reveal, like it's hard to top that, and then seeing the incendiary trooper and the E-Web and stuff later in the show, and the way that the whole thing ended, and I mean it's hard to top it. But yeah, I mean it's weird, like those middle episodes you kind of like take them or leave them, but they were interesting. But I'm looking at the list of episodes now, and it kind of seems like after the third episode it was like the Mandalorian just kind of dicking around space for a while.
Yeah, it's like the first 4 episodes or so were kind of like a story, or 3 or 4 episodes, and then like the next 3 or so were probably going up to, it was what, 8, so from like 3 to 7 was just kind of like they were all their own little standalone kind of episodes. It didn't really seem to tie into any big picture.
Yeah,
Well, 7 and 8
4,
were
5, and
basically a
6,
two-parter.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, like 7 kind of tied in everything, and then 8 was just the big, season finale thing. So
Yeah, I like 4, 5, and 6 were the ones where it was kind of like, okay, it was kind of off point. I guess it was showing that there were other people interested in the child, I guess, and that he got stuck in stuff trying to get back, and
it's almost like they were just introducing things for later. So the like next season or something, a specific episode goes by, and you go, oh yeah, I remember those guys from the one episode, Bill Burr and those other guys come back or something like that because they broke out of galactic prison or whatever the hell they ended up in at the end of the episode.
supposedly,
5 and 6 were the real head scratchers. Like I said, 4 you get Cara Dune and she comes back and plays a big role. So I get that one, but 5, as much as I loved it, because I love going back to Tatooine and seeing all that stuff, except for the mystery left at the end of the episode, I don't see what that really did to further anything along.
Well, supposedly, what's Shandik, whatever.
Fennec Shand?
Fennec Shand, thank you. I was about to say Shardik, like no, not the turtle from Stephen King, you idiot. Yeah, supposedly Fennec Shand is in the next season. So I don't know if it's like a flashback or if she actually lived, or
Right.
So there's that Bill Burr's character supposed to be back, they've said. But I mean, the one character that I wish would come back, and unfortunately they showed a grave, was Kawil. That was awesome. I loved him. And then when they killed him, I was like, no, like, God damn it. Like, couldn't you kill somebody else?
They did do a good job of that one. They had him in just enough episodes that him play enough of a role that when you saw that happen at the end, you're just like, you bastards.
Yeah. Like, no more I have spoken and all that. Like, like he was so cool.
But
And
honestly, his death led to some of the greatest Star Wars I've ever seen in my life, and that was the damn conversations between the two troopers the biker scouts at the beginning of episode 8 there.
That was funny to me. I mean, we touched on them, hitting Baby Yoda, which I thought was pretty ballsy. We already discussed that, but I mean, it was weird. It was like they were just kind of like a couple bros. I mean, it was like the weirdest thing. It like totally took the mystique away. It was like, just two chumps sitting there BSing.
Yeah, all these years, you never just sat there and saw stormtroopers of any kind just be guys in suits. This was the first time that they actually sat back and was like, hey, these are just guys inside these suits. I mean, we did have obviously we had a ton of different guys in Clone Wars and stuff like that. For the most part, it was still very direct and to the point, and they were very military and everything. You never really saw them just kick back and be bros, until a guy starts punching the satchel on the side of his bike.
Was that another Taika Waititi episode? Because I
I'll
feel
have-
like the ones that are the funniest are usually his.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I don't know for sure. I can't say. Taika Waititi. I think it was, but let me look here real quick. Yeah, it was like I say. I couldn't believe they had them hitting the Baby Yoda. I was like, boy, they're really. They're really trying to get you on,
and they did such a yeah, and they did such a good job because they hired 2 stand-up comedians to do that too.
Yeah,
Was it really?
Yeah, it was Jason Sudeikis and I forget the other guy's name. I'm trying to look really quick here. I don't remember. But yeah, they hired 2 stand-up comedians to actually take care of that. So they were probably just riffing off the entire thing anyways, and that's what made it so natural and so good of a scene, actually.
probably. Like, have you guys ever seen movie 43?
Yes.
So you got that Jason Sudeikis skit where he plays Batman.
Yes.
Like, that's perfect. That's perfect for the biker scout. What I loved, I don't know why this is the one thing I remember most about that scene, outside of punching Baby Yoda, of course, but when he shakes the pistol and it's very clearly the sound of like a can of spray paint.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
years and years of us fanboys making fun of their aim, and they sit there and they purposely put a scene in there where this stupid can is laying in the desert 6 feet away from the guy, and he can't hit the thing for shit.
And they don't even care.
And then he shakes the gun like it's the gun's fault. He can't hit it.
See, that's one of those little Easter eggs that I was talking about. Like, oh yeah, they're missing everything, and it's like, okay,
Like, if you don't know
There's
anything
the
about
joke.
Star Wars, it's still a funny scene, but it's funnier to us because we know better.
right? Yeah, it was just so weird seeing those biker scouts like that, because the biker scout is like my most favorite Star Wars character, or Star Wars character design. And so it was cool to see them featured prominently, but the way that they presented them, I was just waiting for one of them to kind of like lean over and fart and then scratch his nuts like in the middle of a conversation. Like, just
What? He punches the bag and then he just farts and closes the knapsack. He just hot boxes
Dutch
baby.
ovens Baby Yoda.
that's so awesome. Oh my God. Yet another idea we're bringing to Disney.
Right?
Yeah, no. Anyways, back on topic. We seem to get off topic a lot with this goofy stuff that we end up coming up with. But anyway, yeah, AJ, like you said, the last 2 episodes were basically like a 2-parter. And it was awesome. I mean, when they get cornered in in that hut or whatever it is, like the bar. And I mean, we've heard about the E-Web cannons for years, but I never had any clue that it took so long to set one of those things up. So bringing that in,
right.
and I was like, man, you would think they would figure this out a little better.
You could fly a resistance bomber in somewhere quicker than you could build that goddamn cannon, dude.
Dude, that whole scene was just made for like factoid nerds. The way Moff Gideon was just like rattling off specs. I'm like, okay, someone's read the visual dictionary.
We'll have to remember those for Star Wars trivia going forward.
Right?
But again, like the little Easter eggs, of like the Death Troopers showing up out there and stuff. Again, you watch no other Star Wars, not a big deal. To guys like us, you see the black suits come out and you're like, holy shit.
Yep. I'm glad you brought those up, because I was gonna go there. Like, anytime we can get more Death Troopers, that is a bonus every time.
And dude, they were awesome too. They were legitimately like badasses.
As somebody who will still stand by that, I love Rogue One, but it's just not my thing because of the characters. I've always said from the beginning when that movie came out, like the Shore Troopers and the Death Troopers, it was like, how the hell have we not gotten more of these guys? And the fact that now you can spoon feed them into the Mandalorian, I'm like, perfect. That's exactly what you guys should be doing right now. So I'm all for it.
Right. And I like you said, like you guys said, I love how they made them just total badasses. Like they haven't chumped them out. They haven't done a stormtrooper thing with them where, all of a sudden now they're fallible and they miss.
Right.
It's like, no, you see a death trooper, stuff's about to go down and it ain't going to be good for the good guys. Like, I love that. And, the way they talk, you can't understand like the coded thing coming out of their helmet. Like that is just so badass. And so when I saw them back on the screen, I was like, hell yes. Like I'm so excited for the second season of this. And then when they came out and said they're already doing the writing for a third season, I'm like, this is awesome. I don't want this to be like a one and done or a two and done, or like the Kenobi series where they're like, it's going to be 4 episodes. Like, what the hell is that? Like, I want more of this. Like, this is a cool story. And I really wonder where they're going to go with the Baby Yoda thing, because that character is so popular. So, I mean, what is he going to become, the Mandalorian sidekick? I mean, what can they do with him besides exploring more of the Force stuff? You know what I mean?
That's an interesting question because he's so popular, he's in danger of overshadowing the main character.
Right.
Like, it's not just if you just had the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda like gets dropped off or disappears from the series, people are going to feel like cheated.
I kind of feel like fans like us, like first of all, everybody loves Baby Yoda. But I think that like the average fan watches the show a little more for Baby Yoda moments. Like my stepdaughter couldn't give a crap less about Star Wars, but she saw Baby Yoda. She's like, oh my God, I got to watch the show. And she watches it to see Baby Yoda. Whereas we love Baby Yoda too, but we're watching it for the Mandalorian and all this other stuff. So I thought they did a good job of balancing that. That's just my personal opinion.
Speaking of, you know how, especially in Star Wars, they like to do this thing where the next installment is sometimes 5, 6, 10 years in the future or whatever. You know how pissed people are going to be if like season 2 of The Mandalorian is like another 5, 10, 15 years down the road for whatever reason. And, like Baby Yoda is, teenage Yoda now for some reason.
He's following Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I get that he's, 80, what'd they say it was 80 some years old or something like that?
50. He's 50.
Yeah. So, and, we know Yoda himself died at 800 something. So obviously, he would have to be, good God, 100, 200 years old to be a teenager. But, so I'm pretty sure they could keep him a baby forever during this series if they wanted to. But you know what I'm saying? Like, people would, at this point, like you said, it might overshadow. So if they do something to that character, not like kill him off or anything, but just change him, people are going to lose their freaking minds over that, man.
They make him go through puberty, so he's like ugly. They give him like like Yoda acne.
Exactly.
His voice changes and it cracks a lot.
But then, like, back on the serious end of it, the end of episode or chapter 8, because you can't call them episodes, chapter 8, when he had the necklace on and stuff, and how we know that Mandalorian is a creed now and everything, was him having the mark of the Mandalorian around his Baby Yoda Mandalorian now.
He's a foundling.
Right.
Yeah, he's a foundling. No, that's right. He is a foundling. So, I mean, as funny as that is, it could be true.
maybe next season, the Mandalorian, he makes him like little Baby Yoda Mandalorian armor. So he's got like the little baby sized helmet.
That's gonna be the first episode. He's like, I made you this armor. And he puts it on and Baby Yoda just goes and just falls over because it's too heavy. He's got to take it off.
He's got like half a piece of Beskar and he's able to make an entire suit of armor for him out of it.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, the whole Baby Yoda thing is just, did anyone even think of doing that ahead of the series? Like, we had Yoda and no one ever considered like we should have more Yoda characters. And then here comes this Baby Yoda out of nowhere and everyone's just like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever, because no one was even thinking about it.
Well, George Lucas always said that the one thing he was never going to do is go into Yoda's backstory or say, here's what race he is, like, all the filler details about him. That was just going to be one of those mysteries that no one ever knew about. And he gave Dave Filoni, his personal blessing and said, hey, if you want to do this, then here you go.
Yeah.
go for it. You've got my blessing. So that's where it came from what I read. And
and they're still smart enough. They can keep everything vague. They don't have to actually solve this mystery, find his home planet, explain his race or anything. Because, like you said, he can live to be 800 or 900 years old. So any of that stuff could be like centuries down the road from this timeline.
Right.
What if Yoda died at 900 years old, but he actually like had like Yoda cancer, and they're actually supposed to live to like 2000, and like it's basically like one of us like dying at like age 48. What if that was the case? Like, what if he's a total disappointment to his species? Like, just others of them like running around on a planet like that are like 3,500 years old.
I mean, I suppose you could go there. I mean, it would piss people off that are original trilogy fans that are going to find out that Yoda died, midlife there, but
Before
He's
he even hit
drinking
his
the
prime.
damn swamp water.
That's what it was.
I'm waiting for him to announce that Baby Yoda is Yoda and Yaddle's love child.
That was done to death. Remember how done to death all that was when it first came out?
Yeah.
Oh, and now they're going to just keep going. Everybody's a clone, so this is actually going to be Yoda. It's a Yoda clone, which is of course going to be the biggest
Force powers.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Yaddle disappeared from the Jedi Council after Episode 1. She was on maternity leave.
She was taking care of Baby Yoda. That's
When
gonna be
Order
the cameo next
66
season.
came down, she survived because she was on maternity leave, and when they checked the manifest of Jedis to kill them all off, her name wasn't currently on it.
A clerical error at the Jedi Temple saved her
Right?
life. Oh, we forgot to leave her on the health insurance policy.
She was furloughed, so she wasn't on any of the records.
Order 66 is like the Star Wars equivalent of coronavirus. Everyone's just sheltering in place now.
It really is.
If you're a Jedi, stay the fuck home.
Wearing a mask does not help.
Well, clearly it does. Look at Vader.
Well, yeah.
Plo Koon was like, but I was washing my hands vigorously multiple times per day. The damn thing still caught up to me.
God, we are the dumbest show ever, man. I can't even believe it. It's like I tell people during the week, like you see all these things on Twitter, like, hey, throw me some Star Wars podcasts to listen to, and I'll throw our name out there, and I say things like, yeah, we're probably the dumbest show you'll listen to, like we don't take ourselves too seriously, and then throughout the week I'll be thinking, no, we talk about some good stuff, there's some good insight. Then we get on stuff like this, and I go back to, nope, we're the dumbest show there is.
Right.
Like Jedi with the coronavirus, Yaddle on maternity leave, biker scouts, farting and hotboxing Baby Yoda. Like we are just full of all sorts of stupid ideas, but I don't know. So yeah, anyway, season 2 is September, I believe. September, October. So
Yeah,
that'll be cool.
I think they just said fall. I mean, unless something has changed, but that's the only thing I recall seeing.
Yeah. So real quick before we get out of here, I don't know if you guys are on the mailing list, but I got an email from Celebration today. It's the first communication that they've sent out since all of this started happening. And they're saying it just basically like, hey, stay tuned. We don't know if it's canceled or postponed yet, but we'll let you know. We're working with the state of California. And Jimmy Mack from Rebel Force Radio has tweeted that, he has seen that the decision has already been made, but they're waiting to tell everybody, till a little closer to the event just to make sure and all this other stuff. So who knows? I guess the rumor is that if they do move it, anybody with tickets can use them for the rescheduled event. So it'll be interesting to see, what they do with that, because I mean, AJ, depending on when they do it, people that give up their tickets, you may actually be able to buy tickets, and we might actually be able to go to that thing.
Well, that alone will be interesting anyway, because clearly, based on new social distancing guidelines, which will be in place for a long time, they oversold the crap out of the event for what the new normal is going to be.
Oh, well, I mean, they oversold the event for what, normal was before.
Right.
I mean, that convention was total assholes to elbows. So, I mean, I don't know how they can possibly do it. I mean, there's no way to enforce the social distancing. There's no possible way to do that. So, but I mean, I guess we'll see. The only bummer is, I mean, if they reschedule it, for let's say like next spring or something like that'll be a much better time, at least for me to go. And the only bummer is I don't think I can transfer that hotel reservation that I got for the Hilton. That's basically, immediately to the left of the convention center, which is incredibly handy, but also very, very difficult to get. So I guess we'll see. But I mean, I don't know how you guys feel. I personally think it's not going to happen. I don't see how it could.
Yeah, I don't think not this year. I don't think it makes any sense to.
Yeah.
It's ironic because a lot of people are saying, why are they doing a celebration the very next year? And now it's going to get wiped out anyway. So, I mean, I still don't know what the heck they're going to talk about. I mean, it's the 40th anniversary of Empire, so cool. But, I mean, the only thing they can really do is, show stuff from Mandalorian Season 2, maybe some stuff from the Kenobi show or Cassian Andor. Tell us what the next slate of movies is going to be.
Clone Wars retrospective.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot. It's not like usual where it's like, hey, we're dropping the trailer and the title for the new movie. So nothing huge like that. So
yeah, you can't imagine there's going to be any blockbuster news coming out of it right now. So
yeah, I mean, and that. I never understood. As soon as they showed the logo last year when they did the reveal at the closing ceremony, I was like, why the hell are they doing it in a year? I mean, especially with the cost that's involved for a lot of people. It's like, I mean, geez, man.
That's kind of like you said. I figure they might have been just trying to capitalize on the 40th anniversary of Empire. So
yeah,
that's the only thing that made any logical sense as to why they would have been doing it this year.
The only other thing that AJ and I thought of was that maybe they were doing it to kind of get back on an every 2-year schedule, because if they did it this year and the next movie's supposed to come out in 2022, then they would have a celebration in 2022.
Right.
But I'm thinking they've done them 3 years apart in the past for, that's how it started. So why not just go 2019 and then have the next one in 2022? Like, build up the anticipation. And unless they get so many people, they're trying to make them closer together so they get less people at each celebration. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Or they just love money enough that they're like, we're just going to do one of these every damn year regardless of news, and funnel money out of Star Wars fans' pockets and give them a couple of stage shows, let some actors talk to these guys for 15-20 minutes, and then we'll take their money and send them on their way.
Yeah, I would not go if it was yearly. AJ has said that. I completely agree. Every 2 years is, yeah. I mean, every 3, then you really have something to build up to. And, especially the way that AJ and I do it now, where, the trip is basically almost a week now with, getting in a day or two early, and then, having a day or two to decompress at the end once you get home. And, every 3 years. I mean, like right now, if they just said, yeah, screw it, we're not doing it again until 2022, that would be fine. I would set up a bank account. I would save specifically for celebration, and, off we go. So,
Yep.
But in any case, on that note, go ahead.
I was going to say, in any case, this is the start of a great Star Wars weekend, because this episode comes out, and then May the 4th, you get the commentary track coming out, in addition to Rise of Skywalker hitting Disney Plus, in addition to the final episode of Clone Wars hitting, in addition to the first episode of the Mandalorian behind the scenes documentary hitting.
Yep. And are they releasing those episodically, or are they just doing it as one chunk? Can you binge that? Do you know?
One per week, I think.
Man, even on a behind the scenes, they're going to do that. Oh well.
They've got other behind the scenes stuff for general Disney things, and they do it once per week.
Yeah. So one last thing, and then we'll go. But I know this is not Star Wars related, but Disney Plus does have for anybody who's an animal lover like us, they have a show about service dogs. It's like a documentary about how like it follows like 6 puppies that are trying to become service dogs through this accredited school, and it is super binge worthy. It is awesome. So it follows the families, the puppy raiser families, and then they have them for about like I think it was like a year or so, maybe a little less, and then they go to the school and they get evaluated for whether or not they're good enough to go through the training to become a service dog, and then they have to be basically flawless there in order to actually get their accreditation and get paired with somebody to be a guide dog. So super cool. So I would highly recommend that. I forget what it's called, but
Pick of the litter.
Pick of the litter. Thank you. It's fantastic. Steph and I, my wife and I, loved it. So check it out. So on that note, we will close up shop for this week. Thanks again for checking out another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. As usual, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. My recommendation for this week is the new autobiography by Jim Ross, the super famous announcer from WWE. He has a previous one out called Slobberknocker, I think, and then this one is called Under the Black Hat, and it basically picks up where that one left off, which was after WrestleMania 15. And man, he gets pretty dirty on some people in this one. It is very interesting. So definitely check that out if you're a wrestling fan. If you want to get some personalized Nerf Herder Council swag, go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. Get a whole bunch of stuff there, t-shirts, hoodies, anything. We have AJ's got 4 different logos to pick from. You can mix and match all kinds of colors, so check it out. You can find us pretty much anywhere you can find any other podcasts. Our main platform is Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all those good places. Just look for the Nerf Herder Council. The website is nerfherdercouncil.com. You can find us on Facebook. Just look us up there. We are very active on our Twitter page at NHC Podcast. So give us a follow. We'll follow you back probably. So until next time, may the 4th be with you. Hopefully you guys have an awesome Star Wars weekend and an awesome Star Wars day. Thanks for checking out the Nerf Herder Council. Until next time, I'm your host JT at Dog Pound Jedi. He's AJ.
At Drake Adams 579.
He's Steve.
At JSteve1005.
And happy birthday, AJ. I love you, man.
Aw, thank you.
We'll catch you next time.
Bucket of bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus, me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie?
Hell yeah, you my Nerf herder.
You my Nerf herder.